All right, man, so for tonight's video, we're gonna try these Dartspins by Hyper Plastics. There's a lot of hype behind them. I am gonna put a little bit of Procure on them, but we'll see if the hype is real, so stay tuned. All right, let's give the Dartspin the first cast. Be honest with you, I've never really tried these for stripers. I fished them for, you know, redfish and speckled trout when I was down in North Carolina, but I've never really given them a fair shake up here for stripers. Heard great things. I know a lot of avid striper guys up this way, swear by them. Oh, there we go, first fish on. Oh no, he dropped it. Oh man, well that's a good sign. Man, that felt like a good hit too. Try that again. I got a little too excited on that one and ripped it right out of its mouth. But for these, man, you really don't have to work them too hard. They got that little, you know, blade on the back. Oh man, there we go. That one got it. Let's go. First fish on the, whoa, this feels like a nicer fish. First fish on the Dartspin. Not a keeper, but definitely a nicer fish. Oh, let's get him in the boat. Man, look at that. That ain't a bad one. Not a keeper, but look at that. He freaking inhaled the Dartspin. All right, man, so, oh, not a bad start with the Dartspin. Let me get this out of his mouth. He was not going anywhere, man. That hook, phew, that hook got in there. There we go. All right, man, not a bad start with the Dartspin. Off he goes. Oh, I do have Procure. It's unfortunately Panfish Magic, the crappie one. I've been doing a little bit of freshwater fishing recently, and I thought I grabbed the blue crab one, but apparently I grabbed the panfish one, but it doesn't seem to do much of a difference. So, all right, man, so far I've gotten one fish on the Dartspin. Gonna give it a few more casts, but I must say I was very impressed. You know, the first cast I had a few short strikes that I tried to set the hook on a little too early, and I'm learning that with, you know, the size of this profile, I might have to let the fish take it a quick, you know, second before I really try and set the hook. But I do like how tough they are, man. Like that last fish just swallowed it, and you know, it doesn't even look like it's been phased. You know, you can get, oh, there we go, there's another fish. You know, you can fish soft plastics, and some guys know how, you know, some of them, like Gulp's like a culprit of, man, like sometimes they're like one hit wonders. You get one fish and they tear the tail off, but we're gonna see how durable this lure is. But look at that, man. Now that's not a giant, but that's still a beautiful fish. All right, man, we are gonna get this. Ooh, easy, buddy, easy. Beautiful striper back in the water. All right, man, so far so good. We're gonna give a cast out to our right. We haven't really worked this part of the slough, so maybe might be some fish over here. Could hear some fish jumping behind me, but I kind of like where we are right now. I don't want to move just yet. Could be one of those things too, when you hear fish jumping and you know, you want to catch them. Oh, there we go. You want to, you know, you see a fish jump and the first thing you think is, man, I gotta go. But I mean, they're jumping all over the place. I will say, so far I'm liking this lure. man. Whoa. Got a little bit of life when he got closer to the kayak. Man, look at that. It almost feels like trout fishing, like when you fish a spinner bait where you don't have to really do much other than, you know, cast and retrieve. Not a bad little striper, a little butte. I will say this, I'm always skeptical about new lures, especially, you know, the cost of them. Because, you know, if you're into fishing, you know that there's, you know, name brand lures that are, you know, tested and catch fish. And then, you know, there's a lot of gimmick lures that, you know, it's just pretty much a money grab in my opinion. Like, I call them clickbaits because, you know, there's a lot of hype around them and social media and all that good stuff, but they're not really proven. Like, you know, you think of, I'm going to give you an example, Zoom Fluke. That to me is a proven bait for this fishery. You know, there's guys have been using them for decades and catching fish. Oh, there we go. This is definitely a newer lure compared to, you know, some older ones, but it is proven to catch fish. That's for sure, man. You know, not a bad little one. Now it did, when I ordered this exact one, it came with this little ball jig head. Now you can order them with, you know, where they're just the bare lure, but I might honestly switch the jig in a minute because I might want to put on a little bit of a heavier jig because we're starting to get a little bit more tide. I'll tell you what though, so far so good. We've caught a handful of fish on it and I don't see any wear or tear yet. Be curious to see how many fish you could catch on one before you have to, oh, there we go, before you'd have to change it out. Man, that one hit right at the kayak. And I'll tell you, that's why sometimes I see guys working lures and, you know, they get it within, like, you know, 5-6 feet of the boat and they just start reeling as fast as they can to get it back. And I'm like the total opposite. I get it a little bit closer to the kayak and I kind of slow it down because, you know, especially when the water temp's a little bit cooler, these fish are a little temperamental on how they bite. And I find that sometimes you almost have to feed it to them. Oh, there we go. You know, they don't, you know, want a fast moving lure this time of year. Not like the warm water stripers do. Look at that, man. Tell you what, this might be my new go-to lure, to be honest with you. And I'm not just saying that. You know, if you follow this channel, you know that I don't have any, you know, ties to any lure brands. I just like fishing stuff that I know works. And, you know, hopefully providing you guys with a video that'll, if you're wondering whether or not you should invest in these, I think they're definitely worth the investment for the tackle box. I'm not saying it's the, you know, the only lure that will catch stripers. Oh man, just had a hit right there. But it's definitely nice to have in your arsenal. I don't know if you're like me, man, like when you get out striper fishing, sometimes the go-to lure is not, you know, the ticket. I've had days, I swear, where I've gone out fishing and I'm, you know, real pig-headed and fishing the one lure that I really love fishing and not catching a thing. Oh man, look at that. That one literally hit literally right here at the kayak. I've been pig-headed before and not trying new things, and, you know, man. It's funny, you go from not catching anything and then you eventually switch it to a different lure and you start getting fish all of a sudden. And that's why, you know, sometimes you gotta get out of your comfort zone. This is the definitely the biggest fish we've had. Oh no, he keeps wanting to go into the kayak. I don't know if he's really net worthy, but he just fell off right there. That was a nicer fish. Well, maybe I should have netted that last fish, but honestly, even if it was, I don't think it was a keeper, but even if it was, we weren't keeping it. This time of year, and most of the time of the year, I'm catch and release. Man, whew. Oh man, I just literally had one dart right behind it. Right behind it. There we go. Oh my Lord. This lure's, man, producing tonight. I mean, look at this. Even by using the 4.5, I thought I would weed out some of these size fish, but these guys are super aggressive, man. Now, I will say, for what we're doing, this is kind of like a good lure. You know, just nice and easy, cast and retrieve. I'm sure you could work it and twitch it a little differently, but I'm finding that these fish are just hitting it pretty well by working it slower and kind of in the middle of the water column right now. I mean, not for anything, but this has been, you know, a beautiful night to be out on the water. I mean, typically the wind has been brutal this, you know, beginning of winter. To get a night like this where it's like flat calm is like a godsend. There's a fish. You know, those of you that fish, especially like me, like where you go when you only have time, which is mostly the weekends for me. You know, it can be tough when you're working all week and it's beautiful out, and you come Saturday, Sunday, it's blowing, you know, 30 miles per hour, and you're trying to hold on while you're fishing. But I have been reapplying the Procure probably every 10 casts or so. Typically I don't replace it as often if you're not catching fish, but I feel like sometimes when you're into them, oh man, there's a fish. When you're into them, you know, that Procure gets rubbed off much quicker when you're catching fish. But I do find that these fish definitely stay, you know, with the lure a little bit better than if you were just fishing plain. Now, I'm not saying you could, if you fish a lure without Procure, you're not going to catch fish, because that's the furthest thing from the truth. In fact, some of the nicest fish I've ever caught, you know, were just on plain lures. But get this bad boy back in the water. Tell you what, man, for the end of December, you can't beat this. Oh, man, that one must have hit right as it dropped. I'll tell you what, that's like the third fish. When it hit the water and dropped, it picked it up before I even closed the bail. I mean, look at that, and you could even tell, like, he freaking swallowed it. But I did bring pliers so that we can make sure we're not damaging any of these fish, if I can find them. There they are. There we go. All right. Probably gonna be my last cast. Hoping we could get one more fish. Oh, can you be the one? Can you be the one? Let's go. I'll tell you what, I'd hate ending the night when you say last cast and you don't catch one, because 9 times out of 10 you're either taking another cast until you catch one, or you're heading in without a fish. But that worked out tonight. We'll say this, it's been a pretty good night of fishing, to be honest with you. The lure looks unscathed for the amount of, you know, action we've had. I'll tell you what, from a durability standpoint, it definitely is worth the money. I mean, I'm looking, trying to get the light on it. I don't see any tears. Yeah, kind of feels the same exactly as when we pulled it out of the package. The only knock I will say, if you do buy them and they come with this little jig head, I don't like how small it is. I think the next time I fish this actual lure, I might fish either weedless or with a bigger jig. I mean, there's probably, you can see the distance between the end of the hook and the end of the, you know, blade, and that's probably, you know, almost 4 inches. So you might get short striked, you know, with a smaller jig like this. So next time I'm definitely gonna try with a bigger jig and see if it makes a difference.